right there, a stake in the ground or both, to show where we want the lateral. Okay? Which house? Okay?
So we think, you're kind of. Yeah.
So that's it, that's probably as many as 4 or 5 people.
There's a couple different things. When you're,
And they're willing to.
we just need to figure out where you want us to leave the lateral.
You
You know, and if you want to start working with plumber, we'll try to figure out what's the best way to get it out.
So, yeah,
Where it is. Sometimes it's easier to flip it under the house if it's possible. Or if it's out back here and that's not possible, you can get it from around, you just can't do like a 90 degree, usually 22 and a half. You gotta work your way around the corner.
Oh, you guys are taking into consideration.
We'll use a lateral wherever, what's best for everybody.
You can do that. Step forward and take on that position. I don't want to sign them up yet, I just want to.
Just write your address on it and put a stake in, try to get it about at the right way line. And that's what we'll do. It'll be a forest lateral. Yeah, they're all. Yeah, the main line will be 8 inch. Laterals are coming out before. All right, there's a structure right there. Nearby. Yeah. So. Elevation
Right, exactly, there's no urgent decision, so let's take a lot of it.
Surface elevation is to be about.
So.
We haven't ruminated enough yet.
Right.
5.5.
Right, exactly. Okay, so we'll just think about that. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, everything's going that way.
Good.
Yeah, you should be fine.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Gary, what's your last name?
Feel sorry for my face too. Just teasing you.
My septic works, I don't care.
That's true. That's true.
Well, the design engineer, when he was working the neighborhoods a couple
No,
years
it's a little
ago,
rough right
he made
now.
a best guess based on what he could see. So right now it's showing yours.
We're in the middle of a construction zone, but
So here's your driveway, here's your well over on this side.
they
Was
were,
it even close?
they didn't, no, that, they were taking,
It comes out right there.
so the way that it all works out with the contract is that
Right.
township provides the grinder pump, and Matt's is
So you gotta
supposed to
stay
install
10 feet
it,
off the well.
but the piece that feeds in from the main sewer to the grinder pump, the piece of pipe, and
So
the pipe from the house to the
if
grinder
it comes
pump.
out back here,
is
there's
provided
two
by
things.
the
One,
homeowner.
I don't know if you listen to
So
what I said.
until
You
they
can
get
bring
to
it
the
out and
install point, they
they
decided
can bring it out
that
and
gives
kind
them
of
the most
gently bring it around
flexibility.
with
Just
like
stick it
22
around
and a half
so it's not
bends.
tied in, locked in where they have to run
Get
the
it
stuff.
going this way.
Okay.
So they're gonna wait.
Sometimes it's
We've got all
easier
our
or
grinder
cheaper
pumps plus some
to
other
have a
grinder
plumber
pumps that come
flip it
from the
inside.
clubhouse. We're gonna need for them if they
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Well, the problem is, I mean, everything's washed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have.
I tried.
That's your wash capacity until the power comes
Contractor, figure out what's the best way to do it.
Unless you have a generator. They don't care.
Well.
But then we'll be getting with you to make sure that
Right,
we leave it
and we
where
were
you
talking
guys
about
want
that.
it. There.
Well, but
Okay.
the main one over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just keep doing 90 degrees. Gravity, which means you kind of come out and you're left like 22 and a half. And oh, Ben, this can't be a,
Stuff that comes from one, it's nice, all the ways that come from me.
all right, and then, yep, you are gonna be down there kind of.
Yeah, our little girl,
Start.
she was
Down
The
the
last kind of, we're gonna start down in the southwest corner.
some of the older groups.
Bunch of them. And then working their way to the northeast of the ranch.
You don't put a high school son that is high school in one, but I don't need
Oh.
So our little girl was the second dance.
They did a good job with the
Waste is gonna stay there all the time.
We were there for 3
That's
hours.
what it's-
They're a good crew. I like working with them.
We had that.
Say that.
You're right.
I was fixing it that.
Right now, we'll see. If it's maybe this week, so that'll make life easier, but we alternate between mud and dust.
You said you weren't gonna complain today.
I'm not complaining to you.
That was a-
I already took care of that this morning. You already got your dose of complaints this morning. No, we're in pretty good shape. It'll be nice when it's over, but we're in pretty good shape.
So she did that. Yeah. She did that. So.
I'm just waiting, I'm sure. I'll give her a
You know, we're working for you now.
No, I set it up online, but I'm actually, I signed up for most of, yeah. There's a lot of tapping. Was that like, they were
Send a text to Nick.
It's.
Nick's running for right now. So for sort of touch base with him, he'll give you a little bit better idea. Because I just, Emmett County, they're only taking volunteers like one Saturday a month. You guys gonna follow that pattern? Oh, they're gonna treat us up.
Oh, but it's on.
Right.
It's just 4:30 to 4 o'clock. I understand. And so, one group that's saying, the little girls, they're so cute and all that stuff. All screaming, out of their lines, there was some. So we drove down Sunday morning, 3.5 hours, set it up for 3 hours. And we went 40 minutes more. And my grandson was 8 on the golf team.
There's not a
He
good
watched him play 9 holes for 3
That's a
hours.
little, that is
Even more.
So,
It was nice, actually. And then we drove home. Like,
that's just the best one.
Because it's one.
Have some.
Get back home.
We went on Saturday. Rehearsals, it's recital this Saturday.
It'll be good.
We turned
We
around.
watched on a couple of Facebook.
Yeah.
videos.
We just wanted to sleep in our own beds and
And they have this-
Yeah, that was us.
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
Oh, no, it's weird. So I started to use the- she's been here anyways. She's like, oh. That's what you guys have. She did the dishes. Really?
They just trying to go figure out who else might come up with help. And so, like, June was kind of up with something.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, I don't think that's. Okay, sewer meeting, thanks for coming.
We'll start with just a schedule update. The plant is running a little behind where we were hoping it would be at this point. We have on the agenda for tonight a change order bumping the substantial completion date and the final completion date to account for the fact that we actually had a normal winter for the first time in about 5 years. We had the ice storm with the power outage, and there's no potable water at the plant, as far as, it's a normal place, you have fire hydrants and you can just fill the tanks municipal water, that's just not here, so it took a little while to get water trucked in, basically, to fill 150,000 gallons worth of tanks. And then they didn't fill them all up at once, they're moving that water around, so they didn't spend too much money. Right now, we asked them for a worst-case scenario on substantial completion, so we went with the Friday before Labor Day, and then we went 4 weeks after that for final completion. But we're hoping that the plant, the new half of the plant is up and running before that. All the tanks have passed their water test as of this last week. Tomorrow they're pouring the concrete slab top on the sludge tank. And it's just about backfilled. It's backfilled on most of the sides except for the side where they have to run the effluent line from the plant out to the drain fields and that. But we're getting there. Elmer's contract for the gravity. They've been doing restoration work the last couple of weeks. Well, all that's really left for them right now, we've got to get their lift stations up and running. They're still waiting on Consumer Energy to schedule them for the electrical installation, and they're waiting on getting a pass for the lift stations from the county electrical inspector. And it wasn't anything physically wrong with them. It was a documentation thing with their disconnect switches and that, and he wanted more documentation. That's so I've been told. So we're trying to get that resolved. And we're adjusting the one at Arthur to pull the control panel and the meter box over to closer to the property line there. And then the other thing they have remaining is there's a mini lift station that the post office and 2 houses are currently connected to on the existing system down here. You can see it's just a little panel with a red light down here in the corner. They're supposed to dig that out and salvage that, but they have to wait until those 3 properties are hooked up. And to hook up the post office, their lateral is in their parking lot. So when they did it last fall, they dug over there and got the lateral close to where their existing line is. And then paved over that. So you can see the 2 different, you can see the old patch where the line goes over to that little lift station. And then the new pavement where the lateral goes over. So they're gonna have to dig that up, connect that, then have those 2 houses connected, then they can pull up that new lift station. So that's the only real work they have left besides getting the lift stations up and running. They finally get all their equipment out of the Depot Beach parking lot. They still have their hydro seed trailer in town, which they've been using to water every few days on the grasses that they're trying to get growing. And they've been parking it up in the church parking lot on the north side there. Matt's side, they're making very good progress over in the Beach Club. They're tuning the roads up for paving. They're doing that today. They'll do that some more tomorrow. And if all goes well, Thursday will be paving day over at Columbus Beach. And if they don't get it all done on Thursday, they'll finish it up on Friday. And then plans to get some restoration done in there Monday and Tuesday, and then be out of there by Wednesday next week. And they'll have to come back sometime after mid-July to start doing some services for people. All the laterals are in, all the curb stops are in. But they'll be working on individual property over there to hook them up. They do have curb stops still to put in on South Prospect as well. And then services for those people. And on Martin Island over here, they're going to be hopefully drilling all those curb stops in the week of the 23rd. So that's the week after next. We've got some highlights on the schedule. That's the phase 1 stuff. Phase 2, the contractor is still intended to start in the middle of next month, down at the southwest corner there where Barbara and Doris and East Dorothy, all those come together with that lift station, and then work their way to the northeast. And several people here tonight that are right down in the area. I don't know if they're going to do this street first and then that one and that one. That part I don't know yet. That's where they intend to start, move their way northeast. If they get done in time, then maybe start on the rest of Barbara and Sturgeon for the low-pressure sewer system and finish it in spring. I'm just, as a betting man, I'd say they're probably not gonna start that. I just don't see them being ahead of schedule, but they could surprise us. But it's more likely they'll wait to start that contract in the spring. Both of them have completion dates of next August. Let's see. I know the township is still working on trying to get the EPA earmark turned on, for lack of a better term. The EPA wanted that turned into a supplemental grant to the existing grant. And that the intent, that funding is to pay for turn on some of the stuff that we stripped out of the plant. Part of it, like replacing the mechanical screen and doing the addition for chemical storage and that, but also for ejector pumps, telemetry, alarming, a preliminary engineering report for phase 3 are some of the highlights of that extra $1 million coming over. I don't know if you want to talk a little more about your kind of your statuses on that or not.
Sure. So one of the requests from our contact, Andrew Tracy at the EPA, was that we submit a preliminary application, and he has provided us with that. We did submit that, was that a week ago, last week? We're waiting for him. Before we get it in the queue, he wants to make sure that it's completed properly, which I think is very prudent, so that's where we are. It's in his hands down in Chicago. He has given us the revised scope that passed muster with the EPA some time ago. It's just a matter now of putting it all together, and he hopefully will. I will complete the system. So that's where we are right now with the EPA at the extra money. So we can give him a call. Oh, it's only been 3 days. Yeah.
That's the highlights. I guess we'll take questions.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So correct me if I'm wrong, what you just said, the contract with the south end, phase 2, is next August?
The contract completion dates are next August for both contracts, the gravity one and the low pressure sewer one.
So basically the system won't be turned on until next summer on.
There won't be any low pressure sewer system, which is the end of Barbara and then out to Sturgeon Island. That definitely won't be turned on until sometime next summer. They have to be done with it. It's supposed to be by next August. If all goes well, later this summer and or fall, the sections of the gravity section should be coming online. There's 3 lift stations in the contract. There's one at the end, the intersection you just talked about, and there's one at the end of South, and there's one at the end of Mac. So there's a chance that some of those could be coming on independently, or they might wait till the whole system there is ready to go. But that should be sometime later this year, if all goes well.
Basically, to line up someone to connect the switch over from the septic system to I'm on the gravity.
Right.
What am I looking at timeline-wise? Because getting people to do things up here is like pulling teeth. Schedule them out a year in advance. It's like, and I've even had stuff fall apart a year in advance.
Yeah. My personal advice would probably just plan on next year for hooking up.
Can I do it myself?
You'll
I
have
own
to
my own excavator.
You'll have to get
all that.
You'll have to get permitted.
Just wait.
Well, we put a bunch of information online. You submit your application to the township, and then you also have to submit a permit application to Sheboygan County as well.
Oh, I just, I'm thinking this year.
Did you have some?
Other questions?
Yes.
I heard both ways on that. Do I have to destroy the septic tank? Or can I just get it cleaned and fill it with sand?
You don't have to get it cleaned, you have to get it pumped, and then you can just, fill it with sand. Generally, yeah.
Someone mentioned you had to destroy them, which didn't make sense.
Sometimes with the plastic ones, it's easier to get them out. You know.
If you got a concrete tank, you're
Mine's,
smart if you drill a hole in the bottom of it.
mine's 50 years old.
Well, if you got a concrete, even if you got a plastic one, if you don't wanna take it out, what you should do is drill a hole in the bottom of it, so let any groundwater that does seep into it, goes right on down. If not, it becomes quicksand.
50 years ago, they didn't have plastic. So in other words, I can just put sand in and call it a day after I get it pumped.
Yeah, it'll be all part of the inspection process through the county, that you want to make sure you do it right.
And that's the other thing, you have all these people that are gonna have to do this, I mean, you're given a timeline here, this and that, but you have all these people, and is Sheboygan gonna individually look at them, or are they gonna pass the authority on so that the contractor can do it?
We had hoped that they would defer to our inspectors in that. At this point, they have not.
See how long, now you gotta figure that's gonna delay, because the gentleman or whoever from Sheboygan's have to come out, individually look.
Oh, I've had discussions with him, and
I can't believe they're doing it.
it's a moneymaker for him.
I totally understand it's moneymaker for the county. But I'm just saying it's gonna delay a lot of time for everyone in there. They should be aware, people should be aware of that.
We've gone round and round on a few things.
The county is, I don't know what they're,
Does it help if we go to the commissioner's meeting?
I don't know. One of the things that's frustrating is that if it's a contractor that's not already on their list, you're supposed to register with them, but they won't let you do it unless you're submitting a permit application. And I've gone round and round with them on that.
so they have
Said
to
that doesn't
collect
make
them all
sense.
then.
So, you want them registered, but you won't take it unless they're actually submitting an application. So, anyway, I've lost that one.
You have to start the process after you get your approval of your application in any period of time. In other words, if I were to go submit my application, and you're talking about Matt's, I assume.
File for the permit in Sheboygan. How long does the permit stay active?
I want to say it's 12 months. I think it says on the permit application itself.
Okay, I'll look it up.
I know the first step is to file your application with the township. And so we have a little spreadsheet for Chris, and one of the columns is it ready to hook up? In other words, is your street turned on? So that
Is
column,
it past the
yeah. And
smell?
is there assessment, paid up or not paid up? Probably, because there's a few of them that were outstanding in that. What else was on it, Chris? Those were the biggies, I think.
Yeah, you tell me what type of pump they have.
Right,
Right.
we put down there if it's a grinder or a gravity or an ejector.
So we could go submit now. Start with the township, go to the county, and that would meet the requirement for.
We already figured Sally to try our system out first.
We elected you our guinea pig.
Well, I got a good helper here, so.
But she's gonna say that, well, yours isn't turned on yet, so she can't process it, so. But, I did miss one thing. The two lift stations for Matt's, the one at Prospect and the one at Pier, did get power last week.
Oh,
Just out of the blue. Oh, you weren't here Friday.
no,
That's
I
right.
was
No, I was up here, and I turned the corner, and I saw 3 consumers trucks and like 4 or 5 guys down at Prospect. So I got out and said, "You guys hooking the power?" He goes, "We just did." I said, "What about Pier?" He says, "Oh, there's another crew doing that." So I went down there. There's 3 more trucks and like 4 or 5 more guys. I said, "Well, why didn't they just send one crew to do?" He said, "We don't know. We just do what we're told." So we went from famine to feast in a day. So.
glad to hear, yeah.
So Matt's is trying to get their electrician scheduled in, then now finish the hookup there so we can start testing their stuff. Yes, ma'am.
So when you're all set and getting ready to get hooked up,
does the contractor file for all these permits, or are you gonna have like?
Most contractors will do that for you, yes. But they, you can do it on your own if you want, but most contractors will take care of that for you and just include it in the bill, here's the permit fee, it's part of your invoice. Yes, sir.
Do you have a rough idea what's gonna cost to do all this by chance?
For each homeowner,
Yeah, just a rough estimate.
it's tough, because it depends on how
I
far it
understand.
goes and that.
Well, you saw our situation there.
Yeah. Gosh, I hate throwing a number out there because I'm not a contractor.
I'm not holding you to anything, I'm just saying a rough estimate.
I've got between 50 and 100 foot of pipe,
Right.
2 places next door to one another, and my estimate to bore is about $6,000 each. And
Permit fees are gonna be another, $350 for permits at a time.
then his place in Columbus Beach, as you know, it's only 20 feet or something, I don't know, and they dig it, so, and that
And
estimate is 3,500.
I was gonna say, on the low end, where it's only like 20, 25 feet, you're probably looking 3 to 4 grand. And then you can extrapolate if you want from there.
So you're thinking 3 or 4 grand plus.
If it's coming out the front of your house and it's going right there, and you're only going like 25
Well, you
feet.
saw what mine was in the back,
You're coming from the back, yeah,
but I don't think that's 100 feet of line.
no, you might want to maybe triple that, up 8, 9 grand. That's just a wag.
And then what about for getting the septic clean, or not clean, but pumped out and sand and all that stuff? What does that-
Some contractors will roll that right in, they'll
Yeah,
do it
just
all.
ballpark.
I don't know, pumps usually run like 400 or 500, I think.
They were 300. They're going up.
Well, I said, a lot of those tanks here are smaller, I'm used to probably bigger tanks, but yeah, there are a lot of smaller tanks here.
So the quote that she just gave me for Matt includes disabling the current septic tank, as well as doing that.
And the question I have then, Sally, is part of the disabling the tank, the final pumping, and disabled whatever that is for your, is that part of from that?
I haven't, from the time they start to the time it's switched over, that's all included in my
Oh, okay, good.
And I was led to believe that they're perhaps a little high, but they don't know what they're going to do.
Sure.
In talking with Matt's today, well, Bob, you were at that meeting too. I think he said just about everybody so far has come in under his estimate.
Correct.
Of the ones he's done.
He tried to be conservative on his estimates to
He
make sure.
he didn't
doesn't
want to
come
jinx
back for
it
more.
and then have the next 3 go over. But he said right now they're doing all right. They're coming in under what his estimate was.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Down at CDC, the residents there are banding together to, have they not all gone with masks?
Everybody's gone with that.
Okay, so how do you feel about that? How has that helped you?
So there's a couple things that it really important to us was that during the season, we wanted to minimize the amount of work. So that they put a crew on it, and literally while the crew is still finishing installing the sewer, they have a separate crew that's doing any boring, they're running service lines to within, generally speaking, 15 to 20 foot of where they're hooked up. Some of them are a little bit longer. But the intention is so that later in the season or next fall, what they have left is just a small area to dig to do that attachment. So they did that work up front for us. Their crews are very efficient, and because we were all grouped together, they basically merged the fee for mobilizing their equipment. They scheduled that for a fixed period of time. We gave them some space to put their equipment, so that otherwise they're driving their equipment back and forth from Kalkaska for individual.
Right, yeah.
And that costs money. I mean, so that the idea that we gave them an area and they could put their equipment there, and then for a 3-week period or a 4-week period, they can focus on and concentrate on doing those kinds of things, saved us some money as a group.
So I think that for me, that's good information. And I know when the sewer was being talked about, there was a group entitled Church. And they kind of went neighborhood by neighborhood, whatever that means to, Chris, I'm gonna use you as an example, you live on South Avenue. So maybe the first block would be considered a neighborhood. So perhaps if there were a group leader, a neighborhood leader that wanted to make a couple phone calls, walk to the neighbors, I think Mac might be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm talking with the Odettes, you got at least 3 houses down there, right? You could probably get, some savings by merging together and trying to get it all done at about the same time. We've also had a couple of cases where there's families next to each other, they don't get along.
Right,
As
true.
far as, they don't want anything to do with each other, so.
Right. But sometimes when you think it might save you a few $100s in mobilization costs, you can agree to disagree for that short time frame, and then go about your business. Again, just trying to get good information to everybody. It's not inexpensive, we understand that, trying to provide as much information as possible on the website. Chris is on the phone, we're available by phone, Steve, certainly you are available by phone. We can make some phone calls, we'll see if we can't, maybe get some more answers.
Now, the phase 1 gravity contractor, Elmer's, was not interested in doing hookups. They were just interested in doing main line and getting out. The phase 2 gravity and LPS contractor is Walton contracting out of Traverse City. They've got both those contracts and they are interested. And their point of contact for getting estimates and that is on the information page of interested contractors that's on the website. Walton contracting.
And if you can't find it on I should have had a laptop in here with it open so people could familiarize themselves. We have 4 rectangular buttons. And if you just start at the top, and there's a really nice letter that kind of describes everything. And as you go through each of the buttons, it will lead you on that path. And I think it's the 3rd button down with the list of contractors. But if you can't find, yeah, give us a call. We can help you through. Come on in.
There's a couple of big lists from the county, like all the excavators that are registered with the county, all the plumbers that are registered with the county and that. But they don't even update that all that often. But there's that one page where we have contractors, half a dozen or so listed. Those are ones that have told us they're interested in doing the work. We've told them, make sure you're registered with the county, make sure you're registered with Health Department Northwest, et cetera. And then for some people in a low income situation, there's also a state program. There's information on that as well for the low income step. It's been a while since I posted it.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty low threshold, but I know there might be some
I think
single
that's
people that are just on
Yeah.
fixed income and that, but in order to apply to that program with the state grant, your contractor has to be registered with that grant program as well. So I pushed all that information out to the contractors that were interested. So,
One other question, when this is all done, I mean, I know at home our sewage rate is based on how much water we use. So here clearly it's not because we're still on water. How is it billed monthly, quarterly?
We bill quarterly, and it's a flat rate. We don't have meters. Right. So it's a flat rate. For the first quarter of the year, the O&M rate was $109.92, $110 for the quarter. That's currently being evaluated. That was based on last quarter of 2024 rates. So we're currently looking at that as the system, it will change. I don't know if we can change it quarterly, if we stick with it. I'd like to think we'll stick with it. Typically, we change once a year. We've waited to try to get as much of the system ready to roll as we can to maintain that. Expect that it will change again as phase 2 next summer. For the gentleman in the back, as that comes to fruition, I expect that it will change again. So right now, the current rate for those who are on the existing sewer district, which is right now the commercial, is $109.92 for the quarter.
Yeah, so I think you explained this to me last time, but I don't remember the actual order of how this is going to happen, because we're on the low pressure system. When will the grinder pump be installed in my front yard? Will it be, when they come through initially, or will it be when I'm ready to hook up?
And you're on phase two, right?
Yeah, phase two.
You're on Barbara.
Barbara,
Well,
but on phase
still
two.
phase two,
Yeah,
So Walton Contracting is, the way it was structured was that the main line is being paid for by the township, and they had hoped to pay for everything up to the house as well. The money just wasn't there, but they did include at least the grinder pump getting put in the ground.
Right.
It would be up to the homeowner though to have it hooked up to the curb stop and then hooked up to the house. Walton is interested in doing the hookups as well. So the first step would be if you want to get an estimate from them to do that, they would probably, what Matt's has been doing, they've been putting the curb stops in, but then they've been coming back and then doing the hookup lines, and they'll do the grinder pump probably about the same time.
okay, so the pump, what you're saying is that grinder pump won't be installed until we're ready to hook up to the system.
Probably closer to hookup time.
Closer to the hookup time, yeah.
And also, it's also influenced by where exactly it's gonna go. They try to get it usually to where, as close to the house as possible to capture your inlet or your out effluent line coming out. But you don't want to get it where you're gonna be down for a long time. So a lot of times try to get it near there without disrupting anything. If it's gonna disrupt something, then they might wait until it's time to hook up and then do it at the last minute.
And so what is a curb stop?
It's just a valve that's, 5 or 6 feet down coming off the main. They'll leave it at the property line. Instead of a lateral for the gravity to come in, it's like the reverse of a water valve. And that's to prevent, because you're gonna be on a low pressure system, so if you have an issue, they want to be able to turn yours off so that something doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's like a
Going
check
wrong way
back
while
for
they're
a check
fixing your
valve.
system or something.
All right, so, but do we pay from the curb stop to the pump? We gotta pay for that?
Yep.
And then from the pump to our house?
Yes.
But that could be 2 feet here and 3 feet there, or any,
Right.
it's just gonna be the total linear feet,
Yeah,
basically.
I know, and there's a couple of owners I've talked with, they're struggling with trying to figure out, do they want it up next to the house, or do they want it down by the road? If they're down by the road, then the electric, you're paying for more electric to get installed going down there. So I know they're struggling with some of these decisions, so they want to get it right.
Yeah.
But it's a personal preference though.
So,
Does the tank have to go deeper the further you put it from the house?
No.
You can get the,
Um,
you can get
well,
the
they're-
gravity drop to the tank inlet.
The point, yeah, I guess, the tank really can't go any deeper. They're made to go 5 feet top to bottom. But if you do get too far from the house, you might have an issue getting your gravity feed down there from the house.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
And the performance on those pumps, when I look at the drawing, the people on the island, the furthest person on the island, that grinder pump is gonna be pumping across the island, up Barter Street to the pump station at the corner of the five corners there.
Every person's individual pump contributes to the system. Keeping the pressure going.
Okay, so, but they have enough performance to get
Yeah.
from the furthest point on the system all the way
Yeah.
to the pump station.
All pushing together, they do.
I'm a simple-minded person, but, so when all my kids are there, let's pretend I'm at the end I'm on the island, and I'm at the end. I'm there flushing the potty and running showers and doing laundry. Now the folks up on Barbara off the island, where we are physically at, are we gonna be running more power? Our grinder's gonna be running more because the house on the island is running more? Greg's telling me that.
oh, that's okay, let them answer.
You're talking about, you're on Sturgeon Island?
No, we're on Barbara,
We're on Barbara, so.
Are you on the low
You're
pressure?
talking about.
low pressure.
You
You're still
mentioned
low pressure,
that like
yeah.
every
Yeah, we're on low
house, every pump,
Mhm.
okay.
Every house has a
is
grinder pump.
pushing it, so I'm thinking, okay, so if down the road, we all have our family there and they're all doing this craziness that they do, now I'm gonna have a higher electric bill because I'm having to push.
Your pump's only pushing the stuff from that house.
That's all it's pushing.
That's all, it's just contributing to the system.
So all the pumps together, if I can paraphrase it, all the pumps together pressurize the system. And each pump pushes into the main line.
Yeah.
And all those pumps combined provide enough pressure to push it up there, but not, our pump only runs when we flush our toilet.
Okay.
It doesn't run all the time, it's just when we flush it.
It'll run more if you have more people at your house
Yes.
doing
Well,
stuff.
yeah,
Just about.
okay, so when you
This
said
is
how
not
they
gonna be
all
a
work
big electric
together.
bill.
Okay,
It doesn't, it's not like it's gonna be running.
okay.
Yeah, they're not in series, push in series.
Okay,
They
that's what
pressurize
I
a
thought.
single, they pressurize a single line, which pushes up there, so there's no extra
Thank you for
running of our,
clarifying that.
of our pump.
And my other question tonight, is it possible for me to see a copy of what Greg and I signed when we signed the petition?
When we voted yes,
When we
yeah.
voted yes. Because I'm not so sure our question from last month was understood. But we can come to terms with that if we can see what the petition was that we signed. We didn't have a copy of it.
That's gonna be a Trudy question.
And even just a blank copy of it, you know,
Yeah,
doesn't have to be our
the one we
signature, we
signed,
just
yeah.
wanna,
Thanks,
just wanna see it.
Yeah.
And I know you answered this last time too, and I'm still trying to remember, so when that grinder pump gets installed, what's the diameter of the hole they have to dig to put that grinder pump in?
The pump chamber itself is 2 foot in diameter, so just probably add a foot or so around, you know, maybe like 4 foot around.
Okay, I'm just thinking of my personal situation where my dry well is, close to the road, am I gonna have room to plop that thing in there without messing with the dry well? You know, depending on the timing of that getting installed and everything else, so I'm not out of service for longer than I have to be.
Right.
But okay.
Thank you.
Just Jim.
Oh, based on that, I saw, does Needham have an actual emergency plan? Or is the township going to put together an emergency plan?
Yes, and yes. So one of the questions that Tammy and Chris and Steve and I talked about this winter before March 31st came was, as I would sit and look out the window and ponder an additional, 200 here, an additional possibly 200 in phase 2 coming on. And we all have been here in July when the thunderstorms come through and we lose power. And I said to Tammy, how long can our system be down without power, without an issue? A couple days. Well, then it really happened. And it was a couple days plus. And we do have a generator we have a permanent generator across from Burger King. If you drive through there, it's the big green box. There's a big lift station, and they need your help at the end, right there, with that big generator. There's one, if you go, excuse me, across I-75 at the end of Rudy Road, you'll see another control panel, for lack of a better phrase, with lights on it. There's another big lift station. So everything from here, from way out, Bob and beyond, Sally's got downhill running her way, which is good, coming across the river. Everything's going this way, up, over, and then up into the wastewater treatment plant. That was a concern of mine. How does all this work? And I said to Tammy, what happens if we lose power again? And she said, well, we have this massive generator that pushes from there up. Then we have portable generators. So the plan is that the portable generators are on trailers. They will be taken to lift stations, powered. I don't know the capacity of these various lift stations. Did you tell me today they have 6?
Currently,
Currently.
it's about, that's
Okay. So the point is, we take the generator around, power the lift stations, and they push on to the next station. What happened was our generators didn't work. So we're having them both serviced. We have a plan in action to replace them. Once they're repaired, they're a hot commodity amongst the various smaller township sewer systems. They're a hot commodity. Tammy doesn't anticipate that we'll have problems selling them, reselling them. And we're looking at replacing them with, it's a generator that's not as electronic. It doesn't have any computerized board. As we all know, computers don't like cold weather and they don't have dampness. And sometimes computers just don't work. So we're looking at a different type of generator that comes built on a trailer. We don't have to try to hog wrestle it into the back of a pickup truck or a lift truck. And we, at some point, we'll have the permanent generator, we'll have 2 mobile, we may need 2 more. To put it in an ideal situation, we put a generator on a railroad station, that is just not economically feasible. But to say that we will replace what we have with something, some generators that are much more surely, we're trying to test and use these. Tammy services that system as well. She's very familiar with these. Looking at the costs down the road, we may need to invest in a few more. Again, in the event that we have a catastrophic failure, such as what we've had in mind, we can all get by on a couple days with a thunderstorm outage. Partner with that, the number of us who have generators at our home. So we're still flushing, we're still showering, we're still doing laundry. Back in the day, that didn't happen. So when the call was out, everything was out. That's not true anymore. So we have to be a little bit ahead of it. So to answer your question, yes, Newton County has a plan. Yes, we thought we had a plan. We're coming back to look at things we were close.
Okay, but there's a physical plan that says this guy's gonna go take this generator to that point.
Yep. And we have the telemetry that Steve referenced is a way for us to monitor the different lift stations in the background. Last month, if you were here, you may have heard us talking about Silversmith, which is a program that we will take the plans for the existing sewer system, the tubing plans. It will mesh into this computerized program, which is GPS driven, so that we can do regular maintenance on all of the equipment. If there's an alarm, it will bring into a phone, a laptop, a tablet, and we can call out the team.
Will our individual grinder pumps be on that
Yep.
system too?
Yeah.
So just our lights will go off if it's not working, and the system will alert somebody that it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And when, this happened in December, and I received texts and phone calls, and I was here, I don't know, for some event, and they're saying the alarm is going off on the across the internet, down, yeah. And so by the time I took the phone call, answered the text, called Tammy, she was 20 minutes out en route, and Doug Schofield, our maintenance supervisor, was already coming, and he got there first. So the response time is very good. And we hope to, make that better. And we know that with the system, and with anything, we have to have regular maintenance. We have to have eyes on this, and this program will help us stay on top of that regularly.
This is,
What was the name of that company you mentioned, Watson or something like that, or?
the phase 2 contractor is Walton Contracting out of Traverse City.
Now when they do everything, do you need to hire a plumber plus them, or do they do everything?
I think they'll have, I think they have plumbing license, just like Matt's does, but that's something you can discuss with them if you want to give them a call.
Well, I don't know all the people doing it, so I just.
Okay.
That's on the website, their
Yes.
contact,
Yes,
but they probably won't hook up the electrical to our grinder pump.
that's correct. We have a list of, I put the list of electrical contractors that the county has.
So if they don't do everything, you also have to get an electrician.
Right, yeah. Even Matt's doesn't do the electrical part.
Okay.
There's no electrical if you're on the ground.
Pardon?
There's no electrical if you're on the ground.
Thank you.
That's right. I forgot I was talking to a gravity guy.
Yes, I'm one of the gravity.
We should have this
50-year-old
For seasonal residents and whatnot, I remember when I went through in the early 70s over on Cricket Lake with my parents, when they would leave, they'd simply flip the switch and turn it off. And the next year when they come in, the water gets turned back on, they flip it back on, the alarm goes off, the bell rings like it's time for recess, they push the button, shut it off, and they were back in operation again. Green and yellow lights on the panel. Is it gonna be that simple to do that?
I personally don't know.
Okay. Because there'll be a lot of people the home will be pickled for 9 months. So there's no reason for their system to be on. So it'd be just a question, since we have a lot of seasonal homes here. Not year round. Is there any preventative maintenance to do that before you shut it down, or when you get ready to turn it on again in the spring?
And Sally, I'm going to use you as our guinea pig again. I think at one of the meetings, that question,
We asked about if in fact there were only a few homes in the winter on a certain part of the system.
Right.
Was that a problem?
yeah, and I think the answer was no. And if I recall, the other part of that question was, what do we need to do to winterize that? And
I think the answer was nothing,
correct?
especially with such a high water table.
Everything's below the frost line anyway, so it's not an issue there. Grinder pump is below the frost line, so. Just pickle the house like usual, pour the pink stuff down the drains, and you're ready to go.
And that would be a question, though, you tell me, when we had a seasonal home, my dad helped us,
Right.
in the hopes that we would want to do it. We did, and we always crossed our fingers, and sometimes we were successful, and sometimes we didn't get all of the water pulled out, and we would deal with a water line issue. But certainly, if you hire a plumber to handle that for you, you know, they could
Right.
tell you what to do as far as on off and what more.
Is it?
Do the gravity systems of the Barbara on the, where the lift station is, do they have, backwater valves on them?
I don't think so. If you're just gravitating in, they should just.
So the lift station is down at the end of Barbara, okay?
Right.
That's pumping up to somewhere else, right?
Right.
Okay. If that pump fails, okay, what's the, what would be the projected response time to getting that replaced? Because are you stocking lift pumps,
Yeah, there's also 2 pumps in the lift station itself.
duplex system?
Yes.
Okay,
And to answer your question, yes.
yes. That was gonna be my next question, you only got a single pump system or a duplex system, because you lose one of those pumps, and everybody on the low pressure systems keep pumping into it. And alarms fail, which they do at times, then all the people on the gravity is just gonna keep filling up. Okay, so that's one of the reasons I asked you what the invert was, where I'm at, that's 5-6 feet, so how much time do I have before it starts going back into my house? Because I have a lift station in my basement that I really wouldn't want to see get flooded. So, you've answered my question.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Have you been able to do anything to further the progress on phase 3?
Well, as you probably heard Steve talk about, once we get that through the preliminary review, then we have to finalize the paperwork. And once that's approved, in there we will add back the items that we removed because we didn't meet budget, okay? Which is the mechanical screen, which is very important for that wastewater treatment plant. The chemical storage area, so rather than we'll be able to buy our chemicals and store them. We will have, we will buy injector pumps with that, the telemetry alarm system, and also the preliminary engineering report is in that budget. So again, wanting to give the EPA another day, tomorrow we'll give them a call and talk to our contact and see where we are with our paperwork as far as, is it completed sufficiently, and if so, then we can finalize that, send it through the grants, through the website, grants.gov, and then we will walk it through the system. So built into that is that preliminary engineering. Okay, that's the best, I can't give you a timeline on it, but it is.
No, I'm not asking for that. I just want to make sure there's still.
It's in the budget, it's in the budget, so.
It's one of the line items in that supplemental $1 million. As of right now, there's no guarantee that we would do it. It would be up to the EPA whether or not they would allow change to our contract, or if they want to resolicit it, put it on the street. So, we don't know, but that's well above my pay grades. I'm sorry, ma'am.
In phase two, how quick, are we gonna wait until it's all done, and repave all the roads, or are they gonna kind of try to not keep the dirt over the winter?
What they did in phase one, they did kind of about 4 or 5 streets at a time, and got usually about a month's worth of work, I think it was. They'd open up, they'd pulverize about a month's worth of work, they'd get in and do all that, and then pave it. The plan was not to leave anything open over the winter, because we knew that the road commission really didn't want that. It was so dry last year though, that the road commission actually told us that if you guys ask permission, it would probably be nice to go ahead and get that last little bit done down there at Arthur and Witt and Oakland and that. And knowing that there's no way we could pave it at the time. So that's what we did. It worked out, it wasn't too bad this winter.
No, really. I'd have to defer to Nikki, she lives down that way, but I didn't see it as.
Some of our roads are better when they're frozen.
It was one of the small wins for a crappy winter, is the fact that, you know, it got so cold for so long. Once they got it plowed out and run down, you know, it was pretty good. It was only in the spring when it started getting really bad, which is always.
How long will, once they start tearing up the road, and, I mean, the line goes right down the middle, right? I mean, how long do you use access? We're on a dead end.
Right, on the dead ends, probably a few days. And they try to get stuff put back together, you know, every night, but on those dead ends, it's really tough. But they work with you and stage someplace, you know, just down the street, you know. It's just, it's gonna be street by street, how they deal with it.
And how does that communication happen to those folks out there?
We've been going door to door and talking to people.
Okay.
We've been, you know, putting flyers out, you know, and saying, hey, we're gonna be opening your street up next week. Have our phone number and that, just try to work with people. But they want to be done with the gravity stuff, you know, this fall. You know, I don't think they're gonna want to wait and get it all open and then try to pave all else. I think they're probably gonna do similar to what Elmer's did, just try to do it neighborhood by neighborhood by neighborhood, break it up into 3 chunks. So.
Any other questions? Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The township meeting's at 7, we'll be here again next month. All, any questions? Go ahead, no?